One of the most painful lessons I have had to learn during my journey of experiencing God's fulfilled promises and the miracles of His promises showing up to rescue us in times of need, seeing answered prayers and fulfilled hopes, was that there were things in my life, in my heart, in the core of what I believed that was keeping the fulfillment from coming. We can have things that block the fulfillment, and some of them can be very simple to change, and some of them take much a deeper work as we allow God to pull out the roots of the wrong beliefs and to put in new roots of faith, love, and hope beliefs. Some of the things that can cause blockages to fulfillment are unforgiveness. I went through probably a whole year where God had me go through all the people I had offenses towards and unforgiveness towards, and also judgment. If we have judgment against anyone, it can block the fulfillment. So I had to also go through a deep soul healing where I let go of my judgment about people, and I had to repent for that, for holding judgment instead of love and grace. It's not our place to judge. That's between those people's hearts and God's. And when we form judgment, that same judgment that we hold against someone else is actually placed upon ourselves, which then will block the fulfillment of promises, of miracles, of prayers. So judgment is a huge one. Another thing that blocks fulfillment is bitterness. If we're holding on to bitterness and pain, we need to release the bitterness and pain so that we can experience the joy of the birth of fulfillment. And that's just by spending time in prayer with God and letting those things go, but spending time actually feeling them. And God would have me write out the pain that I had as kind of a lamentation, and I would pour out the anguish in my soul, and then I would let it go, and I would delete everything I wrote, or if it was on paper, I would rip it up and throw it away as a form of letting it go. One of the biggest things that was a blockage for me was self-pity and anger. I felt sorry for myself because it wasn't fair that I had to, at least I felt it wasn't fair that I had to go through what I was going through. Even people that hated God were just so blessed and enjoying these easy comforts, and here I was following God's ways and suffering, but it was just so God could teach me to lean on Him, because He had something so beautiful for me. When God leads you into a promise, sometimes it's like going through a geode, how it looks rough and ugly on the outside, but then when you see the inside, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And too much is given, much is required. So because of what God had for me ahead was so big, I had to go through a lot of healing and places where His love would soften the rough edges of my heart and my beliefs and my feelings. And sometimes it also took going through the door of trouble for God to open up the gateway of hope. So everyone's walk is different, but for mine, I had a lot of self-pity. And eventually I had to come to the point where I was like, okay, everything I'm going through eventually comes back to myself. The seeds that I planted of bad thoughts or judgment or accusation against others. Having accusation against others blocks the fulfillment. It's the old programming of fear, the programming of the world that God had to remove for me. So I made this next soaking session as a way to remove the old programming of fear, those old beliefs, like old roots that were, just rotting with filth under the ground, and replace them with thoughts of love and the things that God promised me. So the way that God showed it to me is, as I listened to this continuously, it would start to help me change the way that I think, and therefore the way that I believe. Because our true beliefs, the beliefs in our heart, are often just those thoughts that we think about all the time. So the more that you think on faith, hope, and love, or the things God's promised, the good things, the good report and not the bad, the blessing and not the curse, then that changes your belief, and what flourishes in your life is what you have planted. So you will see the outcome of those things that you've been tending to underground, those roots that you've been allowing God to heal with love, those seeds of hope and those positive thoughts of faith that you've been planting will come out as a thriving, beautiful oak tree, or a beautiful weeping willow tree that's so elegant and graceful. The number one way, and the most easy and enjoyable way to remove the blockages that you have to fulfillment, is just changing what you believe. Because when you change what you believe, then naturally the negative beliefs will just fall away, like bad fruit that just rots and just falls off the tree, and you don't have to deal with it anymore. So this session of removing blockages is called God is My Source. And it is just something to be listened to regularly to help you reprogram the fear thoughts, or the bad fear roots, and replace them with the love roots, and to help remove any blockages that you may have in your life. But I also encourage you to spend time with God in removing any blockages of self-pity, of anger, of unforgiveness, of bitterness, of judgment, and of accusation. Those are huge blockages to fulfillment. But the core of it all is just what you believe, because whatever you sow, you will reap. Whatever you plant is what will prosper and flourish in your life. And there's nothing you need to do as you listen to this. You just listen to it. You don't even have to pay attention, because your subconscious is going to just absorb it like a sponge. And the more you listen to it, the more that's going to help speed up the process of changing your beliefs into love and trust in God as your ever-present support in whatever way. The support doesn't have to be financial. It can be protection. It can be whatever He promised you. This is just to get you started. And I encourage you to start allowing your thoughts to be of those things that God has promised you, whatever that looks like. Even make your own script and record it and listen to it often. And that is like rewiring those roots, the bad roots for the good roots. It really is powerful and effective, and it's fun. It brings you peace, especially when you're going through a hard time and there's that negative pull of fear and doubt. That, doubt and fear are the number one blockages to fulfillment. So it helps you get past those negative blockages of doubt and fear by changing what you're focusing on, because where you put your focus, that's like planting a seed. Time is a seed. Focus, attention is a seed. So this is just a tool that has blessed my life, and I hope and pray that it'll bless yours too. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the next session. God is the source where everything flows. God is the source of my support, and I am always the center of God's attention. Blessings, financial support, beauty flows to me endlessly and without resistance. I am constantly receiving love gifts from God. My bank is constantly being filled with the love support from God as He continuously fulfills His vow to support us as He promised. God is all I need, and all of my weight and dependency and trust is laid upon Jesus. From the hem of Jesus' garment, His power flows to me freely, endlessly, copiously. I'm constantly refilled and energized with financial support, with health, with beauty, with love, with hope to believe, with joy. I am always being refilled, and I never run low or never run out. Like an ocean, money is constantly flowing into me, and it never stops. It's an endless cycle of receiving. I'm always receiving. We always eat well. God provides all of our needs out of His abundance. And there's always more than enough. All of my bills and debts and needs are covered. God's support is like a blanket that covers me, and I'm never cold or left without being covered. God loves me, and there's never a moment where He's not loving me and thinking about me. God is with me. His power is within me, and it is moving mountains before me. No harm will come upon me or my children, because we're protected by God. And anyone who comes against us will fall and be humiliated. God vindicates me. God defends me. God will never let me go or loosen His hold upon my life. God will never fail to support anything I need. God always gives me more than enough, and there's always plenty left over to be generous to others. I never have to fear running out of what I need. I never have to fear suffering. I am constantly being covered in God's love, and I'm constantly filled with God's love. I radiate at a frequency of an abundance. I no longer give off a frequency of lack or poverty. I always expand more and more and more. And God gives me all the desires of my heart. What I hope for and what God's will for me is the same. God moves through my hopes to confirm the peace that He answers my prayers. The opposite of my fears is a promise. Nothing that I fear ever happens, but instead everything I hope for happens. I no longer look like I used to. I no longer look what I've been through. I'm a new creation. I radiate the beauty of Jesus, and it shines so bright that no evil can come near me. No evil can touch anything in my life. I only receive blessings and blessings and blessings. And any insult or curse against me comes back to me as more blessings. Even when I am attacked, I am blessed. And every attack against me is returned upon the one that sent it. Nothing harmful can touch me, and no voice raised to condemn me will successfully prosecute me. Jesus is my lawyer and my doctor. Jesus is a supplier of all of my needs. And Jesus gives to me endlessly, freely, constantly, opulently. God has lifted us up, and we live in luxurious lifestyle. And there's always more than enough. God gives me more than I even can contain. I never run out. I never suffer. And I always have exactly what I hope for. There's no resistance in my life. There's nothing that blocks me from receiving money, support from God, and beauty and health is constantly circulating to me. And it never stops. It never runs out. I am not subject to the problems of the world or the ways of economy, because I am constantly supported and protected by the sovereign power of the all-present, almighty, all-knowing God, who loves me so much. I'm not wanting love. I'm not lacking love. I'm abundant in love. There is no desperation within me, because I am abundantly, overflowing constantly with all that Jesus is. I'm overflowing with wealth, health, and beauty. God's blessings are attracted to me, and His loving protection and faithful provision surround me everywhere I go. God's favor surrounds me like a shield, and protecting me is always part of God's plan, and I never have to watch my back or be afraid, because God watches over me as the apple of His eye. God has made me to be everything I dreamed to be, and everything that I prayed for has come true. I have become the dream that I have always wanted to be, and I am no longer who I used to be. God has given me honor and beauty and wealth and respect. I always have all that I need, and I'm never lacking anything. Before I even prayed, the answer was given, and the answer was yes. And before I even see it, I have received it. And everything that I have dreamed and hoped and imagined that I could be, I am.